So who Chris Watts seems to blame for his crimes seems to shift on a daily basis. Now we're back to blaming Shannan about it, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. My name's Paul, and what we're going to be doing today is another headline update. This will be a little bit of a shorter video, but I saw this and was like, oh my god, here we go again. I mean, it's literally like every other day he changes whose fault it was, right? So what I'm talking about is Chris Watts. If you're not familiar with it, Chris Watts was found guilty of taking the life of his two little girls and his wife and disposing of them in a horrible way, and he was sentenced to, he's going to be in prison for life. That's the quick bit of it. Pretty much this case went worldwide, okay? So this is not meant to be any kind of deep dive into it. This is just a quick update. What we're going to be doing is looking at a news article. This is from the New York Post. And again, it's just in relation to some letters and things like that. And I want to go over this here. I still have not read, if you've been following, if you follow my channel, you know me, I have not read the books by his former, like, not cellmate, but like friend in prison or whatever. I downloaded them and plan on doing it. I hear they're very quick, but I want to get the information from that. So I'll do like a little video on that once I'm able to get to it. But in the meantime, they just keep splashing stuff in the headlines and I stop and I'm like, what? So we're going to get into it. So what we'll do is I'll put them on the screen. You can pause to read it or you can listen to me talk about it, whichever you want to do, but let's get into it. All right. So on the screen, you're going to see here, the killer dad, Chris Watts, now blames control freak wife for affair that led him to murder her and their two young daughters. This is by Steve Helling, and this is published August 22nd, 2024. All right, let's get into it. So, and again, it just goes into the same thing we just went over. Chris Watts continues to blame everyone but himself, it says. In newly, down to the second paragraph, it says, in newly revealed letters, he labeled his pregnant wife, Shannan, a, air quotes, control freak, and claimed that he sought refuge with his mistress, who was, air quotes, everything my wife wasn't like with me. Okay. It says the Post has viewed several handwritten notes from the 39-year-old Watts, who is serving a life sentence in a small cell at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. Now let's go on to the second page here. Now in the first little paragraph here, it just talks about, how he pled guilty and then he was shipped over to Wisconsin for safety reasons. Now the second paragraph here says, in addition to his handwritten letters, Watts shared most of his thoughts with Dylan Tallman. That's who I was talking about. This is a fellow prisoner at Wisconsin lockup who befriended him. And it says, Tallman was in the cell next to Watts. The two became friends. After Watts reneged on his commitment to co-write a prayer book, Tallman released a series of 3 books titled The Cell Next Door. Now let's pause there for a second. Now again, these books, he put them out or whatever, and I mean the reviews are like a yikes, okay? From what I can tell with the reviews, a lot of people are like, first of all, this book could have been 15 minutes. It was like big print, whatever. Again, this is very hearsay kind of stuff, right? But I have not personally read it. Yes, curiosity got the better of me. So 100% going to go through it and just see like what, what's there, right? What are they saying? Like, what is he saying that Chris said or whatever? I mean, we're kind of getting bits and pieces of it this way, but I want to go to the horse's mouth, basically. Okay, well, let's keep going. So down here it says that Watts confided to Tallman that his marriage to Shannan was unhappy, according to the letters. She was really busy with her job and everything it required, Watts told Tallman, adding that he often was the primary caregiver to his daughters. Let's go on to the next page here. It says, when Watts lost weight and started working out in 2017, he said women started paying attention to him. And then he says, I met Nicole, he said. She was just everything my wife wasn't like with me. She was just nice and not a control freak. We can make decisions together. It continues in the next paragraph. He says, we knew each other for a while, but we didn't start messing around until 6 weeks before. He continued, I was not thinking. We worked together, we had chemistry, and I fell into temptation. She was the forbidden fruit, he writes. Then it continues, it says, but Watts has had some harsh words for Kessinger, who he told Tallman became the death of me. In one letter previously obtained by the Post, he also called her a harlot and a Jezebel who led him to destruction. Now, I already did a video on that one. Let's go on to the last thing here. It says, in one letter dated March 2020, Watts wrote a prayer of confession. The words of a harlot have brought me low, he wrote. Her flattering speech was like drops of honey that pierced my heart and soul. Little did I know that all her guests were in the chamber of death. Well, there you go. So here's the thing on this. This is just going to continue on, and this case will always go on, right? If you follow this, and you'll know, obviously very explosive, very horrible, very tragic, and you know, there's the whole thing with the whole NK, you know, the mistress and all this. Was she there? Did she help him? Did she not? Did this happen? Did that happen? Chris's ever evolving, changing story, the whole 9 yards. There's so many things left unsaid, left undone. I think because there was not a trial and you just kind of had to go with the narrative that Chris told. And then by evidence that was released, like those police interviews that he did and whatnot, and they went back and revisited him. And then things like this that come out where, you know, this dude's like writing, you know, another thing that came out was talking about inmates saying what his time was like and so on and so forth. So, you know, there's the camps that didn't like Shannan. There's the camps that don't like Chris. There's the camps that don't like either of them. You know, it's a very heated topic, very heated discussion. So I'll be curious again to just go through the books myself, see what they say in them, so on and so forth. For Chris, I'm sure he has to come up with anything possible to put your head down at nighttime, if that makes sense. You know, so it's Nicole, it's Shannan, it's this, it's that, it's the other. You know, at the end of the day, he confessed to taking her life and the children. You know, he can dress it up however he wants to. He confessed to it. He says he did it. He has not come out yet and been like, oh yeah, NK was there, y'all. She smoked all y'all. You know, she's lying, whatever. Yeah, he's hinted around at some stuff along the way, whatever. But until we see that, now for her, I mean, her name is synonymous with this case, and it always will be. It's not going to go anywhere because of this, right? The entire world stopped and looked at this case and was like, you know, I mean, it was huge. And another thing that was, it's becoming more common these days, but especially in this it was because of what Shannan did with what she sold and the social media aspect of it. There was so much online social media of her and Chris and the children. It really, like, you felt like you knew them all, right? Which is usually not what we find with a lot of these cases where you don't have this kind of access to the family to see them and that whole 9 yards. So it really made this blow up even more. So that's it. Let me know what you think down in the comment sections. And if you don't mind, drop a little sofa off down there so that myself and Rosco and Spirit can hang out and talk with you about this case and all the other stuff we do talk about here at the Sofa Squad. And until we meander our way down there to do so, I'll see y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store. I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.